It is exactly at the top of the hour. Welcome to our broadcast. We have all the latest in regards to the death of none other than Albert Ojwang at the Central Police Station, where the Inspector General of Police has visited the site. Well, of course, a post-mortem was also conducted at the city mortuary. We'll also be bringing you that live. And finally, the Law Society of Kenya will be addressing the media at their offices there in Lavington to just bring us up to speed to that particular story. You do remember the LSK president was there yesterday at the Central Police Station with the family of the late Ojwang. We have that and so much more in the next 1 hour. So talk to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Abdiaziz Hashim 2. Welcome to our broadcast once more. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of the screen is Lucy Mora. We start with our top story this afternoon, where the Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja maintains a blogger Albert Ojwang was found unconscious in his cell at Central Police Station and was pronounced dead upon arrival at Mbagathi Hospital. Kanja further said the officer commanding station OCS and all the officers on duty during the night in question have been interdicted. Meanwhile, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority IPOA has launched investigations into Ojwang's death. Ojwang was arrested on Friday, 6th of June in Homa Bay County for alleged false publication against the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Langat.
That IPOA will do everything possible to ensure that justice is served for the family and to Kenyans. And we're very happy that the IG has already interdicted all the officers who are in this station at the material time. We also want to warn those who are going to be appointed to act in their places, to cooperate with our investigators and not to interfere with the investigations.
There was a complaint that had been launched by the DIG KPS about his name being tarnished. So it is on that basis that investigations were actually being carried out, because he also have got a right to be protected by the same law. Given the circumstances surrounding the incident, it was necessary to investigate the death in accordance with regulations governing death in police custody, and in line with the statutory requirements, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, was duly notified to commence investigations. Additionally, to ensure a thorough, impartial, and expeditious investigations by the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, I ordered the interdiction of the following officers with immediate effects.
You have heard from the National Police Service. Now let's head over to the city mortuary, where the body of the late Albert Ojwang is currently lying in state. And we want to hear from our very own, that is Giverson Minor, if the autopsy has been conducted. Giverson, good afternoon. Tell us about that particular postmortem. If it has been done, what is the cause of death of Albert Ojwang?
Now we are coming to live from Nairobi Funeral Home, or City Mortuary, if you like, just at the intersection of Ngong Road and Mbagathi Road, where we had come here since morning just to wait for the results or the exercise to be conducted, or rather the autopsy to be conducted on the body of the late one influencer, Albert Ojwang, who died reportedly in the hands of police, or rather they say the police have said that he might have committed suicide. The report, which a lot of civil societies and Kenyans generally have refuted, and they want investigations to be done. And so we are waiting here just to make sure that when that autopsy is done, we have the report and we are able to confirm what really killed Albert Ojwang, the influencer. Now I want to talk to CEO of Vocal Africa, one who said, Khalid, just to tell us because they've been keen here, they've been following on what is happening here. So Khalid, we are still waiting here. We were supposed to do, or rather the autopsy was supposed to be conducted in the morning, but now it's been postponed. Why is that?
The postmortem was postponed so that they can visit the scene of crime, and then they can also go to the hospital to understand what really transpired. Because for the pathologists to be able to undertake a successful postmortem, they have to know what happened just before the death. So we allowed them this morning to do the forensics, to scan the scene of crime, to go to the hospital and confirm what really transpired. Then in the afternoon, we are supposed to have the autopsy.
Apart from the government chemist or the pathologist, does the family have, or rather even the other groups, the interested groups, do you have your own pathologist?
Yes, as civil society, we have our own pathologists. IMBLU has its own pathologist. The family, we have our own pathologist. Government itself have their own pathologists. So we are not short of professionals. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have pathologists, we have civil society actors. Everyone is here and ready. Everyone wants to know the truth because they want justice for Ojwang.
For how long can we wait for the report? Shall we get it today?
We are hoping that the findings will be determined today because of the number of pathologists who are here. So we remain hopeful that before the end of the day, we will get to know what actually killed Albert Ojwang.
Thank you so much, Khalid. That has been Khalid Hussein of Vocal Africa, just trying to tell us why the autopsy process has been postponed from about 9 in the morning, and now they're saying it's going to be conducted at 2 p.m. or rather 3 or even 4. We just keep it here, but even after that process was postponed, pockets of activists and Kenyans and people who feel angry about what transpired on the life of Albert Ojwang had actually blockaded these roads and caused quite a traffic at this particular place, just singing songs of justice, the demand for justice. Police are also here, many of them, dozens of them, but they've not been able, or rather they have not thrown tear gas. They have exercised a lot of restraint, and they allowed just the protesters to do what they wanted to do. And those protesters have said they'll be back here just to receive the report of the autopsy. Some say they're going to stage another protest at Central Police Station, where the Albert Ojwang has reportedly died, rather committed suicide. We really do not know this. We just wait and want to confirm. But Abdiaziz, this is the situation at the city mortuary. We keep it here, and maybe, hopefully, by the evening, we'll be able to tell Kenyans what killed influencer Albert Ojwang. My name is Giverson Minor. Abdiaziz. Hashim, take it away.
Well, thank you so much. That is our senior reporter, Giverson Minor, just giving us an update from the city mortuary in regards to Albert Ojwang's postmortem. There you have it. It's just confirmed that it has been postponed temporarily, given that the detectives as well as the pathologists need to visit the crime scene and also go to Mbagathi Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. And of course, by in the evening, he'll inform us what truly killed Albert Ojwang, allegedly at the Central Police Station. Earlier, you heard from the National Police Service. Also, during the course of this particular bulletin, we'll be reaching out to our very own, that is Kamche Menza, who is currently at the LSK offices, where the LSK president is set to address. As and when we get that particular link, we'll be crossing over there live. Now, to other news now, where Pokot Governor, that is Simon Kachapin, has condoled with the families of the victims of the tragedy at Takwel Gold Mine that collapsed on Saturday, 7th of this month, bearing 4 people alive. Those who were injured are in stable condition and are receiving treatment at the Kapenguria Referral Hospital. Kachapin, however, said that the county government, in collaboration with the national government, have begun operations on how to ensure that safety in mining is addressed to avert such tragedies from recurring in future.
Mpaka sisi serikali tukae chini na wadau wengine, tuwe na mpangilio mzuri, tuwe na a well structured way of mining, ili safety ya watu wetu iweze kuhakikishwa. Na mimi najua kuna njia mzuri ambaye watu wetu wanaweza kujipatia rasilimali hii ya gold na minerals mengine.
I want to tell the people of West Pokot and Kenya that those politicians whom you have heard them They were in Kambikarai last week. They also went to Tagwell, trying to incite that there should not be any mining in that area. I want to tell Kenyans and the people of West Pokot that those politicians are in extortion mission.
Also, porous borders, poor enforcement and weak coordination among the regional center on small arms. Member states have been identified as major impediments in the fight against small arms and light weapons across the Great Lakes and Horn of Africa region. Internal Insecurity, that is Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo, says the member states need to embrace transparency and information sharing in the evolving security landscape of new technologies. Omolo spoke on Monday when he presided over the opening forum of the government experts on small arms and light weapons.
Experts on small arms and light weapons that coincided with the 20th anniversary of the Regional Center on Small Arms saw member states take stock of successes and challenges in its 2-decade-long history. Internal Security Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo highlighted key impediments to dealing with the menace.
The real issues are in the porosity of our borders, weak enforcement, and poor coordination, all of which allow the flow of these weapons. Needless to say, these structural weaknesses undermine both national sovereignty and regional peace.
This even as Regional Center on Small Arms Executive Secretary Jean-Pierre rallied the member states to collaboratively and actively manage threats that are transnational in nature. Rexer has secured funding from Australia to train member states over the next 5 years on response and strengthening security infrastructure, which Pierre says is crucial to managing security threats.
We have achieved much, from the destruction of thousands of illicit weapons to the strengthening of national institutions. These are not just numbers, they are lives saved, communities protected, and the future is secured.
Resource mobilization and funding also came up, with member states being asked to contribute their premiums without fail when called upon. Dr. Omolo emphasized the need to be proactive instead of reactive.
No single nation can overcome this threat alone, and every delay results in more lives that are lost and families that are displaced. We must operate from a place of both urgency and unity.
Isfar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Farah, thank you for that report. Now, in a bold effort to enhance education planning and promote equity in Kenya, a non-governmental organization dubbed Boresha in collaboration with Usawa NGO has launched a nationwide data collection initiative. The goal is to improve the allocation of education budget as well as ensure all school-going children have access to quality education. Speaking in Machakos County, where over 100 young people underwent training on data collection and analysis specific to the education sector, Boresha NGO CEO Mary Mutula emphasized that the initiative is designed to make budget decisions more responsive by grounding them in accurate community-level data.
After this, the FLANA process, at the end of it, there'll be a report that, of course, we look at the whole 47 counties. So we're looking at how then will the information support in ensuring that we have better budgets, improved budgets, to ensure that every child in public and in private schools, they all get the same quality of education.
The FLANA process, the Usawa and Boresha has secured jobs for these young people you're seeing here. So looking forward for the implementation of this process.
In regards to education, learners in technical and vocational education and training institutions are set to benefit from a more flexible and industry-aligned curriculum. This follows the rollout of a modularized competence-based curriculum and training system, CBET, at the Nyeri National Polytechnic. Now, the Chief Principal, Nyeri Polytechnic, Dr. David Mwangi, said the new approach, which breaks down courses into manageable modules is designed to make learning more accessible and efficient.
My expectation after finishing here is to be a manager at a big restaurant, hopefully to provide my knowledge that I've learned here to the industries that I'm going to work in the near future.
When I came, I wasn't so sure what I wanted, but I was sure I wanted to do beauty. And when we joined, we are trained about hair, beauty services, that includes facial. And of course, already I have skills, so when I go out, I'm sure I'm a better person. I can deal with the market outside there.
And when you talk about the model-based curriculum, we are saying we are splitting our curriculum for 3 years or for 2 years into areas of competencies. And what we agreed is that after every 3 months, we are going to have an assessment in specific areas of competencies.
Still with the TVET institutions, principals, registrars, heads of departments in National Polytechnics, technical training institutes and vocational training centers from Nairobi region have converged in Kiambu National Polytechnic for a sensitization program on the competency-based education and training modular curriculum. Implementation of the modular program is said to equip young men and women in the country with the necessary skills in the shortest time possible and be certified to enter the job market. Addressing over 300 representatives, the Principal Secretary for Technical Vocation, Education and Training TVET, Esther Moria, said over 66,000 students have been enrolled in modular programs within different TVET institutions in Kiambu County.
As a state department, we need to concentrate and even over-concentrate, if need be, on ensuring that young people are getting the requisite skills as must be and within the shortest time possible. There has been this notion that learning should, as much as possible, be academic. But we realize that this is not what is required by industry. Industry requires people who have the technical knowledge in gypsum technology, in walling, in carpeting.
We have made it our business again to modularize all our programs. All our students that we admitted in May are all modularized. We don't have a single one of them in any other program. And knowing the importance of this program and the great impact it will have on our young people, and realizing that we are now doing the right thing.
Now, let's revisit our earlier story that is in regards to the death of Albert Ojwang. You heard from the National Police Service. You have heard from the civil societies. There you have it. The president of LSK. Let's listen to her now.
Individually and collectively to ensure that these rights are protected and upheld. Any action by police officers that does not only undermine the rights of any person, but worse, still discloses such abuse and contempt for due process, as in the case of Albert, can neither be condoned nor justified. The treatment of Mr. Albert Ojwang is a betrayal against him and a betrayal against the people of Kenya. This cannot be wished away as an isolated incident because it is illustrative of deeper systematic weaknesses within the National Police Service. Kenya has no room for extrajudicial killings and criminal conduct by police. This is a past for which too much has been sacrificed to unshackle our country from. While we note the efforts by the Inspector General in interdicting officers believed to have been involved in the conspiracy, Albert's death, to pave way for investigation, the same is far from sufficient in resolving the matter. First of all, we ask the Inspector General of Police, why hasn't he named the particular officers that have been interdicted? What is the need of hiding? Let Kenyans know, and the ambiguity of saying in any other officer. Who are these any other officers? And secondly, officers who picked Mr. Albert Ojwang from Homa Bay, are they part and parcel of those who have been interdicted? Without telling Kenyans in plain word of who these individuals are, will be treated to just PR for purposes of calming down the citizens of Kenya. We want to know who are these officers, the ones who picked Mr. Albert Ojwang. Are they part and parcel of those interdicted? And secondly, those interdicted, we want to know their names. We want to know each officer involved so that we can follow and find out what processes that will follow, and we know the individual officers that are being held accountable. To ensure a meaningful and credible outcome to the intended investigations, we demand an unequivocal commitment by the National Police Service that they will unreservedly cooperate with the investigations undertaken by IPOA and provide all necessary access, material, and evidence that will fast-track the investigations. Further, there must be corresponding undertaking by the National Police Service that there will be no interference or intervention whatsoever on their part, save for what is reasonably required by IPOA. To ascertain this, we equally call upon the Deputy Inspector General of the Service, Mr. Eliud Langat, to publicly and unconditionally recuse himself from taking part or influencing the investigations in any way, save for as may be required of him as a potential witness. We know that this recusal is necessary to dispel any apprehension of prejudice and conflict of interest that may arise on his account as the complainant against Mr. Albert Ojwang. Secondly, the safety of Kenyans, whether suspected or not, is not a matter for which we can reactiveness. We demand proactivity. The Law Society of Kenya has concerns over the safety of detainees while in police custody and the treatment and mistreatment that has raised Kenya police cells. In particular, we have sounded grave apprehension over Central Police Station in Nairobi, which has been a poster boy for police brutality and overreach. This must come to an end. Further, we note that previously the Council of Law Society of Kenya had raised concerns with the Inspector General of Police against Nairobi Central Police Station for being violators of the rights of arrested persons. We call upon IPOA to expeditiously investigate concerns raised and keep Kenyans appraised of the outcome of the investigations. While the National Police Service, through the Inspector General of Police, have given their commitment, will also hold IPOA accountable to be able to do credible investigations and update Kenyans on the status of the same. The Law Society of Kenya will pursue drastic reforms within police stations across the country, especially those that have consistently been cited as danger zones detained therein. We invite members of the public to support this endeavor by reporting any known to mistreat, abuse, or neglect detainees, citing specific instances that can inform an overhaul of the systems which have proven ineffective. We call on the police and IPOA to fully participate in this initiative by investigating and taking decisive action on every complaint that will escalate to their offices. Mr. Albert Ojwang must not be another statistic that we move on from when the next incident arises. Let us collectively take the pain of his death as the beginning of a necessary and overdue paradigm shift for our country and for our nation. Thank you.
Well, that is the LSK president addressing members of the Fourth Estate in regards to Albert Ojwang, who lost his life allegedly at the Central Police Station, a matter that is currently being investigated by the National Police Service. If you're just joining us, the LSK president has called on the National Police Service to reveal the names of the officers who were on duty during that particular day for measures of accountability and to give the family a sense of justice when it comes to their loved one who they lost on Friday. That was pronounced dead at the Central Police Station. Already, the autopsy is being carried out at the the city mortuary, and our very own Giverson Mine is following on that particular story. Our very own Kamche Menza is following that LSK briefing, and then finally we'll have that story prepared by Adan Ibrahim, where the National Police Service visited the crime scene. That is the Central Police Station for matters of investigation, but for now the officers on duty have been interdicted. Elsewhere, the government has paid out more than 2.8 billion shillings in compensation to victims of human-wildlife conflict over the past 2 years. The compensation drive by the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has helped slash pending claims from 4.1 billion to about 2.3 billion shillings. This year alone, nearly 950 million shillings has already reached affected families across the country. Speaking during a stakeholder meeting held at Mangu High School in Kiambu County, Conservation Secretary in the State Department of Wildlife, John Chumo, said the government has also rolled out long-term measures to reduce human-wildlife conflict. Now, this also includes the fencing of game parks and reserves, as well as the construction of water pans and boreholes within wildlife habitats aimed at keeping animals from venturing into human settlements. Over 57,000 cases of human-wildlife conflict were reported between 2009 and 2024, the most common incidents being snake bites, hyena attacks, crocodile and hippo incidents, and crop destruction by elephants.
Every year we do around pay 950 million in terms of compensation. We are doing a lot of fencing. We have actually been doing boreholes so that we can actually ensure the wildlife are actually within the parks so that they don't actually come outside.
Now, residents of Kakamega County have expressed dissatisfaction with the proposed 18.153 billion shillings budget for the 2025-2026 financial year. Speaking during a public participation forum, the residents criticized the county government for failing to prioritize crucial sectors such as healthcare and infrastructure. They also raised concerns over the continued allocation of funds to incomplete projects despite regular budgetary provisions.
Katika afisi ya gavana mambo mengi ambayo yako kule sio mambo ya maendeleo, na haja ya mwananchi ni maendeleo, sio hii 200 ya facilitation. Kwa hivyo hiyo pesa ipunguzwe, haswa iletwe katika wizara ya afya ili wananchi wasije wakakosa madawa kwa vyovyote. Sio kwamba tunachukia afisi, lakini tunasema let the right things be given the right priority.
Kuna mambo ya barabara yameweza kuzungumziwa katika bajeti iliyopita, ingine haijatekelezwa mpaka sasa. Tumekuja kutekeleza bajeti nyingine, ile haijakamilishwa. Sasa tunashindwa kujua itakuwaje.
The State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action has announced that over 100 cases of femicide have been reported in the past 6 months. Speaking during the flagging of a digital campaign against the gender-based violence in Nairobi County, Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage, Hannah Cheptumo, reaffirmed the government's commitment to ending the vice. The countrywide campaign is part of a broader national effort to promote gender equality and protect women and girls from violence.
Digital campaigns are one of our innovative strategies to accelerate sensitization against gender-based violence, including femicide. For the last 6 months, more than 100 cases of femicide were reported, while many others may have gone unreported. Gender-based violence, including femicide, is a heinous act that must be condemned and appropriate actions implemented against the perpetrators.
It is 30 minutes past the hour. Let's take our first commercial break on KBC's Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. Business and sports is up next.
Vultures are gathering, Ladama. With every bit that falls, power shifts.
I want them to feel the emptiness I feel.
All of our property and assets shall be left to Amichir Achesa.
Our legacy unravels. Mimi ndio sheria, mfalme wale murati. Who will be left standing when the last beat falls? Shanga Season 2, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. on Maisha Magic Plus. Stay connected to DSTV Channel 163 and GoTV Channel 3.
In a world where news is ever changing, staying informed is more important than ever.
Join us every week on News Check, your go-to show for the latest in current affairs, breaking news and in-depth analysis.
A warm welcome to KBC News Check.
From politics to global events, we bring you content that matter to you.
We're not just speaking about the governance and how we want to see it, but want to actually participate.
Get your facts, hear from the experts, and really understand what is happening around you.
We need to change our system first.
You have to do the impossible
to
make sure the message is home.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo, and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's...
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the principal of Rigoma Girls Secondary School in Masaba North Sub-County, Kisii County, claims her life is in danger following an attack at her residence within the school compound. Alice Onyoki says she spends her night in the students' dormitory for her safety. Speaking during a prize-giving ceremony at school, Onyoki said unidentified individuals shattered her bedroom windows and locked her inside her house while she was asleep, an incident she described as a well-planned and targeted attack. Masaba North Deputy County Commissioner Stella Wanyela said investigations are underway and that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI was actively pursuing leads to uncover those responsible.
When I got a sound of broken glasses on the bed, I moved into the next room where I wanted to open the door and come out. I found that the door was locked from outside. Since I sleep next to the dormitory where girls are sleeping, I opened the front window, called one girl who went and searched for the watchman, and the watchman came. I told them through the window, open for me the door so that I move out. My room is just inside, between the dormitory buildings, and it's only an inside person who can locate where I stay.
Hii maneno, mimi nawaambia, atajulikana, watajulikana, na watashtakiwa, watachukuliwa hatua kali sana. Ndio, tunataka shule ikae kwa amani, tunataka watoto wetu wasome kwa amani, wakuwe at peace. Watoto hawawezi kuwa at peace kama principal is not at peace.
Communities living in disputed 44,000 acres of Mwe settlement scheme in Beren South Sub-County, Embu County, have agreed to put aside years of rivalry and embrace dialogue as a pathway to lasting peace and resolution over the controversial land subdivision. In a meeting held in Bondoni village in Makima Ward, the residents agreed to adopt alternative dispute resolution ADR as a way of resolving the conflict that has plagued the region for decades. Makima Ward While MCM Philip Nzagi lauded the residents for choosing peace over provocation.
Sisi watu wa Makema Ward kwa kauli moja, kwa kabila zetu zote ambazo zinaishi hapa, kwa sababu sisi tuko kabila zote za Kenya zinaishi hapa Makema, tumekubali ADR na tutaenda kwa pamoja kwa sauti moja, na hatutakuwa na ubaguzi wa huyu ni wa kabila lile ama lile. Sote tutazungumza kwa pamoja kama watu wa Makema, na tunataka kuambia serikali tunashukuru na tuko tayari na waje haraka, kwa sababu tumekubali kama kauli moja. Watu wa Makema tuko tayari kuketi, tuzungumziane, tutatue hili shida tukiwa watu wa moja.
Kwa hivyo tunagojea tuanze hiyo ADR wakati ambao tutakapoitwa, ili tuongee na tushauriane na wale wengine, tupate mwelekeo wa kesho ambao utakuwa ni mwelekeo wa kuleta amani katika mwananchi wa Makema yeyote.
Kenyans have been urged to promote peace and unity by shunning tribal politics that often divide the nation. Kwale County Government spokesperson Nikki Gitonga urged residents to support both county and national governments in promoting the agenda of peace, unity and development. He cited the example of Kwale County, which he said has been at the forefront of integrating diverse communities through development. Gitonga made the remarks during the funeral of 103-year-old Agatha Kavesu in Chingorembo, Lungalunga constituency.
Tuishi kwa pamoja, tusikubali siasa zile za ukabila, kwa sababu unaona hata katika hii serikali yetu ya gavana Achani kuna Kenya nzima. Unasikia kuna Nikki Gitonga, ama Nikki Gitonga wa wapi? Unaona ni Kenya nzima. Kwa hivyo sote jamanini tuungane na we support the administration ambayo inaleta watu wote pamoja. Tukiruhusu wale wengine ambao wanasema ni tuchaguliane ambao ni viongozi wa hapa kwa ambao ni wanatoka kwa jamii za hapa. Jamanini sisi ambao ni wanasema sana wanasema wale sisi wenyeji wa kuja tutakuwa pabaya.
Upendo wa Mungu ongea na watu.
The move by the county government of Kakamega County to allocate a sports ground at Khaega to traders has caused protest by residents who say the land has for a long time served them. The irate residents urged the county government to reconsider the decision, saying the field was their venue for football and bullfighting activities.
Tumekataa katakata, tumekataa kiwanja ikuwe ya mpira.
Pali imefika tuko please na venye situation iko hizi area zetu. Saizi kama ama youth wote venye sasa kama hakuna grao, hakuna venye kila mtu atahang out hapa na acheze ball.
Kenyans have been urged to be mentors and accommodate one another in the society. Speaking during the launch of a memoir titled A Life of Service by John Gomez, People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua, who was once his student, paid tribute to his influence as a teacher and mentor, describing him as an accommodating person. The memoir highlights John's inspiring journey from his humble beginnings in Goa, India, to his decades-long mission in Kenya, where he served as a teacher, school principal and community builder under the Diocese of Nyeri. He further championed girls' education and promoted justice and equity through service. Kenyans have been urged to mold and accommodate one another in the society.
Knowing that I had a major part to play on our journey is one of the greatest honors of my life. When I left Kenya after 30 years of service, and asked Bishop Cesar Gatimo about my pension, he looked at me and said, "My dear son, your pension will be in heaven."
It's testament of who he is, that so many can spare their time to come and be with him on the day of his book launch. The array of guests here, of the people he has impacted, the story speaks for itself.
County governments that border oceans and other large water bodies have been urged to come up with strict policies to help in curbing plastic pollution. Speaking during a beach cleanup exercise to mark World Oceans Day in Kilifi County, a section of environmentalists led by Alice Wanjiru said the pollution has affected marine life. 3,700 metric tons of plastics get into the ocean annually, according to the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute.
Of harmful plastics. So then I think yes, we've been doing great so far, and I know this is it has been something small because the first time we did an ocean cleanup here in Kilifi was last year. So I really I think this is a really great initiative and it should be pushed further.
Tunajaribu kufikiria mbinu nyingine za ziada vile ambavyo tutakavyofanya ili kuendeleza katika huu mchakato mzima wa kutunza fuo za bahari, na si fuo za bahari peke yake, mpaka mazingira kwa ujumla.
Laws or even institute some penalties for people who pollute the environment and especially our beaches.
Now welcome to the world of business. Economists at PKF Kenya are concerned that 30% of the government expenditure will in the next financial year be earmarked for serving debt and are calling for an audit and a prudent management of public debt. In their pre-budget analysis, the economists emphasized on the need for prudent fiscal consolidation and efficient management of public funds.
So 1.2 trillion, which is almost 30% of our expenditure is just going to pay that. So if our interest rates go up, this becomes significantly more expensive for the government to borrow. Yeah? We've got education, which is taking up 17%. We've got energy, which is taking up 12%. We've got counties. Important that we find the right balance. Government has expenditure, right? We need to spend the money. We need to collect taxes. And we also need to make sure that we can manage our debt, right? The debt has to be sustainable.
There are a lot of tax expenditures that need to be minimized. Now, what do we talk about when we talk of tax expenditure? Now, a tax expenditure is basically any foregone taxes to the government where taxpayers have either been able to enjoy what we call investment allowances. Taxpayers have enjoyed some form of tax exemption. Taxpayers have enjoyed a preferential rate of tax. I believe we need to minimize our tax revenues so that we can generate an additional amount. And you'll actually notice the numbers are quite mind-boggling. If you look at the last financial year, the amount of foregone tax revenue was almost 510 billion in the form of exemptions, incentives, capital allowances. But then here is the tricky bit. How does the government balance between reducing the tax expenditures and incentivizing businesses to put in investments?
To the coast, where Kenya's Lamu port is now fully operational, marking a major step in boosting regional trade. Port manager engineer Vincent Sidai says the port has been receiving cargo ships weekly since it's opened. As part of the Lamu Port South Sudan-Ethiopia Transport Lapset project, the port is set to play a key role in connecting Kenya with South Sudan and Ethiopia. The port has deep water berths that can manage large cargo ships, giving it an advantage over other ports in the region. The port is also expected to create thousands of jobs, helping to grow the local economy and support development in Lamu County and nearby areas.
Poti kwa hakika imeanza kazi na tunapokea meli kila wiki. Tuko na meli hapa zinaleta na tunaweza kuongezeka. Tuko pia na shipping lines ambazo zimekuja tayari, ziko hapa leo. Wamekuja kuangalia ili walete meli nyingine kama hii Devon ambayo itafanya kazi baina ya Lamu, Mombasa, Dar es Salaam na Zanzibar. zitakuwa zikimwaga containers kutoka hapa Lamu zikipeleka kwa hizo port zingine.
Kuna channel 2 hapa katika port ya Lamu. Kuna Southern Channel ambayo ina kina cha mita ya 12.5 meters, na kuna Eastern Channel ambayo ina kina cha 17.5 meters, yani 17.5 meters, ambayo hiyo ni draft ama ni depth kubwa ya kuweza kuleta meli mpaka post Panamax.
A rugby team, Kenya Lionesses, has intensified its preparations ahead of their crucial Africa Rugby Women's Cup match against South Africa, set for this Wednesday in Antananarivo, Madagascar. The Lionesses got their World Cup qualifying campaign off to a flying start with a dominant 28-5 victory over host Madagascar in last Sunday. Now, following the South Africa fixture, the Lionesses will face regional rivals Uganda in their final match of the tournament. The competition features 4 of the Africa's top women's rugby nations, including Kenya, South Africa, Uganda and Madagascar. The winner of the tournament will earn a direct qualification to the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup in England, while the runners-up will secure a spot in the WXV3 tournament in Dubai.
Horrible mistake by Kenya, by Madagascar, and Kenya make them pay. That really was a massive, massive disaster for Madagascar, trying to clear, kicking the ball against the posts. Kenya would love to end their performance with another try. Wafula getting very, very close.
Now to the scenes in Munich yesterday night, where Portugal successfully defended their UEFA Nations League title after edging out Spain 5-3 in a dramatic penalty shootout last night at the Allianz Arena in Munich, Germany. Cristiano Ronaldo brought Portugal level at 2-2 in the 61st minute, and with no further goals in regulation or extra time, the match was decided on penalties. Ruben Neves calmly slaughtered home the decisive spot kick, securing Portugal's second Nations League crown and denying Spain a chance to reclaim the title they last held in 2023.
And it's saved! Portugal are bringing it home again. Power, panache. The first team to win this competition twice. Portugal on the Nations League.
Well, who says that at the age of 40 you can still win trophies? And there, France, you have seen, they have won the bronze title in that particular tournament. Elsewhere, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz beat Yannick Sinner to retain his title in an incredible French Open men's singles final on Sunday at the Roland Garros in France. In an electrifying atmosphere, an extraordinary fight to win 6-4, 7-6, 7-6 in a final that lasted 5 hours and 29 minutes. Novak Djokovic beat Roger Federer in a 2019 Wimbledon final. In the women's doubles, Sara Errani and Yasmin Paolini beat Anna and Alexandra 6-4, 6-1 on court. Felipe Katia concluded there's still more to look forward to, especially the World Cup qualifiers, given that next year will be the 2026 World Cup. Also, the Club World Cup is just around the corner. That means that before this time the league returns in August, we still get a hold of that particular remote. You know who am I talking to. Now, that concludes our bulletin. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim, the sign language interpreter. At the bottom end of the screen is Lucy Mora. Good afternoon for now.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Are you ready for the next big thing in tech? Well, we'll spotlight Kenya's brightest young minds, game-changing startups, and breakthrough technology that are shaping our future. From AI and robotics to sustainable futures, we bring you the stories behind the scenes. KBC Channel 1. Remember, tech starts here.
The world is ready to turn up the volume and Fête de la Musique or World Music Day. Nairobi Street Food Festival is all about the vibrant celebration of the street food.
It's the vibe. It's the vibe. Everyone's a vibe. Our food is also a vibe. So yeah, it's the vibe.
Baby Cool is back with a brand new album dubbed Break the Chains. On our Musically Speaking tonight, tunaenda all the way to
wakadinali ndo watu mnarequire kubishana na wasanii wakongwe wameretire. Yuko wapi rapture, attention na capture?
Contemporary African photography through the lens of Zimbabwean-born, South African-based photographer Tatenda Chidora is a visual exploration of what it means to be African and Black today.
Some say I'm a fashion photographer, fine art photographer, commercial photographer, but I'm a visual storyteller. I love telling stories through photographs. We paint through light, and that's what basically photography is. I'm at Through the Lens Collective. I'm going to be developing some film today for a shoot that I did a few weeks ago. My photographic style is black, very black. That's what people say. There's a magnification that I place on black skin as an individual. There's a glorification. There's a celebration. And there's a beauty that I'm trying to translate with black skin and black subjects, and also translating other stories of identity in it. I've often been criticized of having a certain selection of subjects. It's either they're too black or it's a person with albinism, especially when it comes to my conceptual work.
In a fast-paced world that leans more to digital, Tatenda works mainly with digital photography, but the nostalgia and timelessness of film photography still makes it an attractive medium.
I pour in some fixer. The fixer fixes the image onto the film so that it doesn't rub off, so it becomes permanent onto the film. My preference is always film. There is a beauty also that comes with grade. I always say to people that digital is still trying to match film. You have film grades that people put over digital images. So there's still something that is authentic and raw when it comes to film photography. And from a creative perspective, it's a much longer process. But I feel like film allows you as an individual to think through the process. You have 36 or 12 slides in a roll of film, so it constricts you from wasting. So that allows you as an individual to be able to be more articulate, to be more concentrated, to be more focused. Whereas with digital, it's instant. It's immediate. and you shoot and look. With digital, you see it. And then on film, I will only see it after it comes from the lab, or I'll only see it after I've processed it.
The aesthetic of film photography carried out on a traditional handprint is something Tatenda appreciates. Though he can develop film himself, he requires the services of Dennis Da Silva, the only remaining hand photo printer in the country.
There's a longevity of images printed on film paper is much longer than digitally printed prints. So there's always a beauty in having a handprint because it was carefully done. There's just a beautiful touch to it and having it as a handprint. When I was much younger, I used to cut out images from my mother's magazines. I always used to like that they were for like a school project and collage and put them in scrapbooks. So from there, I did build a subliminal visual library, and I've always had an interest in photographs. And then when I had the privilege of going to university, I went and I studied photography. The difference between commercial work and conceptual work is commercial work is always there to feed a certain market. Today we are in Soweto. We're doing a lookbook shoot for a South African streetwear brand. We're in an open field, in a soccer ground. We've got beautiful Texas as our props, and yeah, we're gonna have so much fun. So we're creating to lure in a certain type of people, a certain viewership, serving a certain market. So everything is always controlled. And then conceptual work, which is mostly my style of photography, especially in my personal work. So there it's thoughts, ideas, experiences, expressions, staging all of that up and recreating it and translating it in the way that I would have perceived it as a photographer. The special thing about this generation of African photographers is we have the ability to express ourselves. There is freedom. I think the world is also listening to our stories. They are now keen also just to hear the new narrative of art. Now we have an opportunity to be able to control our aesthetic, to be able to control our story, to also be able to control our narrative as Black people.
Haongeleshi mtu yoyote. Jaribu kumwongelesha. She might open up to you.
Unaona?
Are you even qualified? Umehitimu? Unajua unafanya nini hapa?
Ahmed, arudi hiyo Dubai. Nimepoteza mtoto mmoja.
Haijalishi. The words came out of your mouth. You should know better. Pole.
Na mume wako.
Sasa hapo ndio shida iko. Hapo ndio shida iko. Meaning?
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
My name is Marita Davison. I'm an environmental biologist with a master's degree from Cornell University. Today we're focusing on the exploration of space and examining the question of what else is out there.
And we have liftoff.
There's a phrase used a lot by scientists involved in this kind of research called life as we know it. For many of us, we associate life with things that are vibrant and growing. We draw on our own experiences with what life is. It's interesting when you talk with people who are forced to take those assumptions about life and throw them away and essentially start from scratch, asking new questions and coming up with new definitions.
Powering the future. Confronting the world's challenges with cutting-edge solutions, medical breakthroughs, and high-tech discoveries. These are the stories of our planet. This is VOA Tech.
Since the 1930s, the researchers and scientists at Jet Propulsion Labs in Pasadena, California, have been thinking about ways to explore our universe. And since the 1950s, they've been sending up spacecraft to do just that. With success comes notoriety. JPL has found a niche in the public's imagination with its missions to Mars. The idea of something created on Earth, traveling millions of miles through space, landing on a planet, and then sending us pictures of what it's doing, strikes at the heart of what inspires us. And it's that visual experience that is proven so important. Most of us can trace our interest in space to seeing it.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
To watching an indelible moment shown on television. It's no different for the men and women working at JPL.
When I was probably 8 or 9 in the late 60s, that's when they were sending astronauts out to the moon. And so we would roll the television into the classroom on the cart, and the teacher would turn it on, and the black and white film of the Apollo astronauts standing on the moon. I was actually super excited by them landing in the ocean. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, to watch a capsule land in the ocean, and then to see the frogmen jump out of the helicopters. So that, I think, was kind of my first interest in the space program, was sort of those early elementary school years.
Susie Dodd has spent her entire professional career at JPL. She has held several different titles and has always had a hand in the grandfather of all JPL missions, Voyager.
When I first started at JPL, I actually started on the Voyager project. I came in before the Uranus encounter in 1985. I am currently now the Voyager project manager, which is just super exciting to have the very first job in your career on a mission just as the junior engineer. And now it's 33 years later, 34 years later, I'm the project manager of Voyager. You know, it's an incredible mission. It's lasted now into its 41st year.
The identical Voyager spacecraft each weighed just over 1,700 pounds and carried 230 pounds of scientific instruments. It's the 1970s, remember? So their flight data system was a single 8-track digital tape recorder. Both spacecraft also carried a 12-inch golden phonograph record containing pictures and sounds of Earth, you know, just in case.
Voyager are 2 spacecrafts, and the original mission for Voyager was a 4-year mission launched in 1977 to go to Jupiter and to Saturn, with 2 spacecrafts so that hopefully one would work.
As it turned out, the decision to launch the Voyager rockets in 1977 wasn't happenstance. In fact, it was a once-in-a-century opportunity.
1977 is a critical year because that's the year when all the outer planets are basically aligned on the same side, closest to us and on the same side of the sun. So you can go reach all of them in the shortest distance. And that only happens about once every 176 years. You know, before 1977, the last time that happened is when Thomas Jefferson was president of the United States.
So it was a very calculated effort there.
So we took advantage of that alignment of the planets to have a mission that went to Jupiter and Saturn, and then, if successful, to continue on to Uranus and Neptune. And it turned out that both Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were successful in their data taking and their scientific objectives at Jupiter and Saturn. And so Voyager 2 carried on to Uranus and carried on to Neptune in the late 80s. Voyager 1 was put on a trajectory such that it would get close to Saturn's moon Titan.
For all the wonders of science and technology, they are fields usually marked by incremental advancements. Voyager's beauty is that it gave the world surprise moments in a discipline where few exist. And so I've seen some of the images that were generated from Voyager. Tell me a bit more about, what specifically were you interested in capturing?
Certainly some of the highlights included seeing active volcanoes on Io, which is a moon of Jupiter. Nobody had ever seen active volcanoes anywhere but our own Earth before. You can think about the magnificent ring system that's at Saturn, just truly gorgeous. What we learned there about how the rings keep their shape, how they interact with each other, really a surprise. Now, Uranus and Neptune each had their own surprises as well.
Those surprises were on full display when JPL allowed cameras onto its campus in 1989 to let the public watch images of Voyager 2's flyby of Neptune come in at the same time as the scientists charged with studying them. And 41 years after it launched, using technology and engineering and computer software from the 1970s, Voyager is still going to a new frontier.
So for a 4-year mission, it was able to get 2 more planets, both Uranus and Neptune, and then continue on since 1990 in what we call the Voyager Interstellar mission, which was this search to reach the heliopause, which is where the edge of the sun's effects stop, where you no longer feel solar flares, you no longer are in the charged particle atmosphere of the sun. Voyager 1 crossed the heliopause in August of 2012, and Voyager 2 just crossed here in December of 2018.
In other words, both Voyager spacecraft have left what we think of as our solar system. So what was that moment like when you realized this is what happened? I mean, this is a historic moment. Nothing had ever reached that far before, right?
The suspense was built up over 3 or 4 months. We started to see an increase in particles coming from interstellar space. At the same time, we started to see a decrease of particles coming from the sun. And they pretty much aligned, but every once in a while there'd be a blip, and they'd go back to where they were, but then it would change, then it would go increase again, and then a little dip, and then a blip, and then finally they just went boom, and out. Watching that just had the suspense growing, are we seeing it? Are we close? Are we there? And when it finally crossed, it was great. It's like, we're there,
Wow.
This Voyager project, this Voyager spacecraft, something that's built on early 70s, 1972 technology, has made it into interstellar space.
I mean, communication at that scale is something almost impossible to wrap your head around. I mean, how does one wrap their head around how you can communicate with something that is 13 billion miles away and counting?
Well, it is hard to think about. If you assume that Voyager, which is actually true, it transmits at about 23 watts. That's kind of the same as your refrigerator light bulb. By the time that signal gets to the Earth, it's on the order of 10 to the minus 21 watts of power that the antennas are receiving. So what's really important is actually have all these antennas on the Earth that can catch that signal, and to have the technology to be able to array those antennas together to squeeze that signal out of it.
The antennas, capable of receiving a signal less than what's required to power a refrigerator light bulb, is called the Deep Space Network. So tell me about the Deep Space Network. What is it, and what is it hoping to accomplish?
Well, so the Deep Space Network is a group of large antennas that we use to track exactly what we call deep space missions. So these are missions that are out at the moon or beyond the moon, basically. They're located in 3 locations around the world. There's a set just outside of Madrid, Spain, out by Barstow and what we call Goldstone, California, so halfway between Pasadena and Vegas, out there in the Mojave Desert. And there's a set in outside of Canberra, Australia. And they're in those locations because they're equidistant around the Earth. So if your spacecraft is way out there, say at Jupiter or Saturn, or even in interstellar space, the way Voyager is, as the Earth rotates around, one of those antennas is always in view of the spacecraft.
And how far out can they receive signals from?
They can receive signals basically to nearly infinity. Voyager 1 in particular is the furthest spacecraft from us. It's 13.8 billion miles from Earth today. It travels at a speed slightly over 35,000 miles per hour, and it's just on its way out. There's nothing that's going to stop it. We'll be able to track it definitely for as long as its lifetime. Voyager is operated by a nuclear power source, plutonium-238, and so it loses 4 watts of power a year. And in another 5 years, we really won't have enough power to operate anymore and operate the transmitter on Voyager.
Now, how long does it take for a signal to reach you?
So a signal from Earth to the spacecraft takes 20 hours, and then it takes 20 more hours for the spacecraft to respond back to us and say that it got the signal. I always like to characterize it if I walk into my office Monday morning and I say, "Hi, Voyager 1, how are you doing?" I'll hear back sometime late Tuesday afternoon, maybe Tuesday evening, that it's doing okay. So you with that kind of a mission, the spacecraft has to be very self-sustaining.
The Deep Space Network is not just communicating with the Voyager spacecraft. Any mission outside of the moon's orbit uses the DSN to download data and receive instructions. Its presence is crucial to current missions, but also a necessity for the future exploration of deep space. So when you think about this succession of, the previous projects beget the next, and just that progression in the way things are done, what's next here at JPL?
You've whet your appetite by doing a flyby, so now you want to have an orbiter. And so for Jupiter, Galileo was what I would call the child of Voyager, right? It was the orbiter that went in and went around and studied the planet as well as some of the moons. And now we're working on the grandchildren. We're working on a new mission called Europa, which is going to orbit around the moon of Jupiter, Europa. And so each successful mission spawns the next mission. The scientists say, wow, that piece of data really looked interesting, or that atmosphere of Jupiter really looked interesting. Let's have a specific mission to look at the atmosphere. Or let's have a specific mission to look at Europa. And one of the reasons they want to look at Europa is they feel that Europa has an icy crust to it. And they think that underneath that icy crust, there may be some possible signs of life. And so that's what they're really looking for and studying with the Europa mission.
It's no great surprise that Cynthia Phillips, lead scientist for the study of Europa, also became interested in science by watching a space mission on TV.
When I was in high school, the Voyager 2 spacecraft flew past Neptune. And so, being a persuasive kid, I managed to persuade my parents to let me stay up all night and watch this live feed they had on PBS. And so as the pictures came down from the Voyager spacecraft, the only way that the scientists could see them was if they were physically here at JPL. And so all of the scientists, including Carl Sagan, who of course was my idol, as well as most people of my generation.
Many, yes.
So there he was in the control room, and he was watching these pictures come down. Him and other really eminent scientists of the day. They're watching these pictures. They're the first humans to set eyes on these worlds far out in orbit around Neptune.
What might be a surprise is one of the Voyager team members who inspired Cynthia that night some 30 years ago.
Good morning, and welcome to the 6 a.m. edition of Voyager Update. I'm your host, Suzanne Dodd. At 6 o'clock a.m. Pacific Daylight Time today, Voyager is 576,000 kilometers, or 356,000 miles, above the swirling cloud tops of Neptune and traveling away from that distant planet now.
There are not many pictures of Europa. It's not even a planet, but it does have something that captures the imagination. And when it comes to space exploration, that carries a lot of weight.
I think that Europa is the best place to look for life beyond the Earth.
Although not often spoken aloud, if there is an underlying motive to JPL's research, and its missions, and its launches, and the exploration, and all the work that goes into all of the above, it might be that there could be something else out there. The theory of life on Europa starts with its age.
Europa is a small moon of Jupiter. It's about the same size as Earth's moon. But what's really cool about Europa is that instead of being an old, cratered, battered body like our own moon, Europa is young. It's geologically has